What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 2 of Everyday Python Projects, and today we're going to build Hangman. There are a ton of different ways to build this out, but like I said in my previous video, it's best to get something down first and then refine what we have. Alright, let's do it. Okay, before we construct this, let's think about what we'll need to complete this. So if we're going to do this right, we should be able to play with different levels of difficulty. So let's start with easy, medium, hard, and extreme. So easy is going to have an unlimited number of guesses, medium will have 20 guesses, hard will have 12 guesses, and extreme, the number of guesses is equal to the letters you have to guess. Next, we need to keep track of our guesses and display it on the screen so we're not trying to remember any of the letters that we guessed previously. So that should look something like this. Here are the letters that we guessed, M, O, R, N, I, etc. Here are our remaining letters. Normally this will be filled in, but we'll figure that out in a few minutes. And then here are the letters we guessed and whether or not we were correct in guessing the final word. So as you guys can see, the final word is morning, but being able to see this on the screen just makes it easier for us to guess what the final word is. Here's an area where you can have a little bit more flexibility. Maybe at the end of the video when you're writing your own program, you modify your code to not show the remaining letters or what you guessed in the hard or extreme difficulty modes. That's one of the great things about Python. It just makes it really easy to make these rapid changes to our code and then test out the results in a split second. Okay, now that we have that sketched out, let's start coding. So the first thing we'll need is a list of words to choose from. We can easily find this on Google like so. Basically, you have this website, randomlist.com/randomwords. And what you can do is you can generate any number of words that you want. In this case, let's just use 1,000. It'll give you this list, and the easiest way to get this information is to copy and paste this to a text file and then save it in the same directory that you're running your program. Now, once we have that, we need a way to be able to access those words each time we're running our script. So there's two ways to do this. There's the very boring Pythonic way, and then the fun pandas way, which is much easier to implement. So here's the boring method. First we'd write f equals open, copy the file path. We're going to copy it like that, and then write R here. R means we're going to read the file. Then we can create a list called word list, make it empty, and then iterate through our text file. So for word in f, word list.append, word.strip, and then f.close. So word.strip just removes any spaces, and then f.close means it's going to close our file. So if we do this, we can see word list now has all of the words that we just got from that website, and we can verify that by looking at how long it is. There are 1,000 items in there, which means that we were able to read all 1,000 words from randomlist.com. So you can do it this way. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're serious about learning how to use Python to your advantage, it's best to become familiar with a few key libraries, and the first of which is pandas. So pandas is a library that's packed full of all sorts of data analysis techniques, and it really streamlines the process of manipulating data. So we're going to try and use it here. First thing we can do is comment out all of this boring code. Now first we're going to have to import that. So if you haven't installed this library, it's pretty easy. Just open up your terminal, type pip install pandas, execute it, and then the libraries should be installed almost immediately. So if we're going to do this using pandas, we can write word df equals, make sure to import as pd. That's just Pythonic convention, but it can be anything as long as you remember what it is. So import pandas as pd, word df is going to be pd.read csv. once again, we're going to put in the file path like so, and we're going to write header equals none. The reason we do this is because when it's reading a text file, it'll take the first row as the header, but because that is a word that we could potentially use, we want to say that header is equal to none so that it doesn't use that first row as a header. So once we have that, we can write word list pandas is equal to word df 0. And you can see now, here is our entire list of words. So, what took 5 lines of code was done, in 2. Okay, now we need to pick a random word to guess from the list we just made. So let's write a comment, get the word to guess equals word list pandas. Now, in order to do this, we're going to need to import another library. We're going to import the random library, and this is going to randomly select a word from our list. So random.randint. We're going to start at 0, and it's going to go up to the length of our list of words. And we're going to make this uppercase. So a couple things here. First, this will generate a random number between 0 and 1,000. So here it generated 903, 405, 291, 432, etc. So we're going to use this to be able to pick a random word. And what this does, upper method right here, is it just converts it to uppercase, which will be easier to read once you see the word on the screen. So in here, it picked throat, now it picked color, wiggly, etc. Now, one thing to note, the words generated from randomlist.com may contain spaces in them. I personally think it's a lot harder to consider words that have spaces, so you have 2 options. You can either delete those words from your list, or you can remove the space between the words. Honestly, it's probably just as hard to guess 2 words that are meant to have a space between them when they don't have a space between them, but we're just having fun with it. So here we can write a couple lines to remove spaces from words. Very important to comment out your code, just makes it way easier to figure out what's happening. So we can write if there's a space in word to guess, then we're going to write word to guess is equal to word to guess dot replace. We're going to replace the space with an empty letter, or with nothing. So now if there was a space, it'll be removed. Okay, next we're going to prompt the user to input their level of difficulty into the console. So we can write difficulty is equal to input. What level of difficulty would you like to have? Type one of the following: easy, medium, hard, extreme. And we're going to convert this to lowercase, just that in the event the user uses uppercase or mixed case, we don't want the program to crash, so we're just going to convert their input into lowercase. Next, we need to make sure that in the event they write anything other than easy, medium, hard, or extreme, right? Let's say they wrote hello, right? Right now, it doesn't do anything because we didn't instruct the program to keep moving forward. But later on, we need to account for the fact that they might write something other than these 4. So the way we can do this is to first create a list called difficulty choices. And in here, we're going to have 4 options: easy, medium, hard, and extreme. Now we're going to write a while loop, while difficulty not in difficulty choices. Just make sure I type that correctly. Okay. First, we're going to print you didn't type the difficulty correctly. Try again. Then we're going to print a new line to the console, and we're going to copy and paste this here. So until they select either easy, medium, hard, or extreme, it's going to keep throwing this error so that whoever's using this types the correct word. Next up, we're going to provide the number of guesses for each level of difficulty. So this part I'm just going to copy and paste because it's just easier instead of me having to write it all out. So were we to play this game on a whiteboard or a piece of paper, normally we would draw the little spaces where we could fill in the letters as people guessed. In this case, we're going to have to replicate it here with just a small amount of code. So we're going to create a variable called fill in this list. This is going to be equal to a list of underscores multiplied by the length of the word to guess. So were we to print this out on the screen, fill in this list, say we did hard, and we can see here is the word that we need to guess. It's 7 characters long. So now we know that we're dealing with a 7-letter word. So we can get rid of this here. And next I'm going to add a little bit of code to make this look prettier in the console, as well as just make it a bit more user-friendly. Now it's time to write the meat of the code. Meat. Ew. We need to keep track of the letters we've guessed, as well as the possibility of running out of guesses and not having guessed the correct word. So we can do that by creating a list here called letters guessed, make it empty, and then a parameter called result that's going to be a string called last chance. Okay, the following code is going to be done while we still have guesses remaining, so we can write a while loop that says while num guesses is not equal to 0, and you're going to be asked to input a letter, and each time you input a letter, it'll lop off one of our remaining guesses. So we can write your guess is equal to input guess a letter. We're going to make this uppercase once again, print out a new line to the console, and num guesses will now be subtracted by 1. So to account for guessing any letters that have already been guessed, we need to create a second while loop that'll keep us in this indefinitely until we guess a brand new letter. So we're going to write while your guess in letters guessed and num guesses is not equal to 0. We're going to print a couple new lines and then say you've already guessed that letter. Try again. Print another couple lines. Remember, this is all happening right here in our console, so we want to make it look, neat. Then we're going to print out our word here, and this, depending on what point you're using this code, this may or may not have letters already filled in. We're going to just copy this here. Then we're going to write print here is what you've already guessed. And we're going to pass in a variable here by using format. And we're going to pass in the letters that we've already guessed. Then we're going to write your guess is equal to this right here, and we're just copying this again. So this will keep us in this loop indefinitely until we guess something that wasn't a letter that we've already guessed. So it looks like there's some kind of error here, undefined letters guessed. Letters gust. So let me just change that. And okay, we're clean. Okay, so let's say we've guessed a new letter. Now we need to check our word and fill in all the areas where that letter we guessed appears within the word. So we can do this by writing a for loop. And first we're going to write for count, comma, letter, and enumerate word to guess. What enumerate does is, as it's going through this for loop, it's keeping a count of how many times or what loop we're on. So if, in our case, we'll need to keep track of where we are within the list of words that we're trying to guess. And using enumerate will make it that much easier to do that all in one step instead of us trying to do that ourselves. So for count, comma, letter, now if your guess dot upper is equal to one of the letters in word to guess. Then fill in this list at this index, which is what we're using here with count. That is going to be equal to your guess. So it'll keep going through letter by letter and check if the letter that you guessed is able to fill in any of these spaces, and if it is, it'll fill it in right there. So once that loop is done, we're going to write letters guessed dot append your guess and letters guessed dot sort. So this way it makes it very easy to figure out what we've already guessed by alphabetizing it. And what this line of code does is it just adds it to our list letters guessed so that we're keeping track of it throughout the entirety of the script. Now, after you guess, there's a chance that you might have guessed the word. To make it simple, it's going to check each time you guess if you've won or not, regardless of it being the first guess or the millionth guess. Now, I'm sure there are plenty of other ways to be doing this, but like I said in my previous videos, we're just trying to get something down, right away, and this doesn't have to be the prettiest or cleanest code. So we're going to write a comment, check if you've won, and we're going to write if there's still an underscore, or if there are no underscores, and fill in this list, meaning all of these letters have been filled. We're going to change that result equals win, print you won, and then print out what the word is. Then we're going to change num guesses to 0, which will break us out of this while loop because num guesses has to be not equal to 0 in order for us to be within this loop. Now, let's say there are still letters remaining that we have to guess. Then we're going to write our else statement. We're going to print out the word once again, print out new line. You have X number of guesses remaining, and we're going to pass in the number of guesses that we have, as well as print out a new line. And then we're going to print out, here's what you've already guessed. And same thing, we're going to pass in the letters that we guessed. So that way we're going to be able to keep track of it, no matter what part of the loop we're in. So this little while loop will keep on executing until you have no more guesses left. And when that happens, that's something we have to account for as well. This is where the code for result came in handy. So see how here we changed result to win? Well, earlier we set it to last chance for this exact reason. So we're going to write another while loop, and this won't be contained within this loop right here. This is if it breaks out of this loop. We need to write a loop over here, and it's going to say if num guesses is equal to 0 and result is equal to last chance, then final guess is going to be equal to an input once again, no more guesses remaining. What do you think the word is? We're going to make this uppercase, and we're going to say if final guess is equal to the word to guess. We're going to print new line and write nice job, you won. And we're going to print out what the word is once again. So list word to guess end equals space, and this little parameter right here allows us to print everything out onto the same line. So let's say you didn't guess the final word. We can write else print you lose, but you can always try again. And very important, print in case you were wondering, the word was, and we're going to pass in what that word is, using word to guess. That way we'll know, even if we lost, we can figure out what the word was. I personally hated it when I wasn't told what the word is, so I'm trying to make my younger self happy right now. Okay, now that we wrote all of our code, let's see if this works by playing a game. All right, what level of difficulty? Let's go with medium. All right, I have 20 guesses remaining. So A, E, all right, got one there. 2, oh wow. O, nope. P, R. Let's see if I type in I again, if it prompts me that I already typed that in. Yep, I already guessed that letter. Try again. W, B, C, D, I, D, E, A. Nope, I already guessed that. M, N, identity. Oh, wait, what? Identic. It's not an L. Already guessed that. Nope, already guessed that. How about U? I. A, B, C, D, E. Let's go with F. Identify. Identify. And there we have it. Here's our word, identify, and it looks like our program is working. And there you have it, your own personal game of Hangman to keep you company during quarantine. If you liked the video, please subscribe to my channel, drop a like below, and join me tomorrow for another Python programming tutorial.